Hey, my name is Robert at Goozy Fabrication, and this week we've got a great video for you. Hit that like and subscribe, leave a comment, share the video, help out our algorithm so we can grow this channel and help you out more. Okay, we've got a two-part or two-fold video this week for you, 2 for 1. You're getting a deal. First part had a lot of comments, people wanting to know what we're doing with this car, how far we're going to go with it, if we're going to be videoing the repairs. This is a 1961 Impala bubble top. Yeah, this is a very desirable car. This car is worth restoring. Now, in this video, I'm going to do a walk around of this, tell you what we're going to be doing, but I also want to give you some do's and don'ts when starting a restoration. And now this channel is geared towards the DIY guys and gals doing work at home on your own projects. I want to give you some professional tips and advice. So let's get into it. So I'm trying something a little bit different with this video. Usually I do a voiceover, but I'm pressed for time. I'm gonna try to do a walk and talk. That might turn out good, it might not, we'll see. Okay, so the only way I know to tell you this is to show you my formula. My formula starts with the assessment, and that assessment starts when you go to look at a vehicle to purchase, or like say this vehicle comes in. What I like to see is the deck lid and the hood, the car all complete, put together, because we can learn a lot from that. And these cars, anytime you restore a car, anytime you work on a car, you're spending money. That's very important because they are investments. Now, if you figure out some things that pop up later, man, you can start running into a lot of money, a lot of unforeseen work. You can get really frustrated with the project real fast. So I'm going to give you a few tips of things that you want to do, what you want to look for. Part of the assessment, there is a saying in this business, the hood and the deck lid never lie. Okay, if you think of this car, think of a car as in 3 squares. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay, so that would represent 3 squares: the hood or the roof, the trunk, and the front end. Okay, this is the trunk. Okay, the deck lid sets in here. If the car is square, you will have good gaps all the way around. Your hood will fit nice. You'll have a nice even gap here, here, and here. Same way with the deck lid, and it's the same way with the doors. Okay, so on the vehicle, when you walk up to it or you're assessing it, if the deck lid is on, if the deck lid or the hood is not on, that is a major red flag. And you're going to have to really dig in, because they may be trying to hide something, because they may not be fitting. So I've seen people leave them off. What you're looking for is a nice even gap all the way around. Now, if the deck lid or trunk is really close here, there's no gap here, and there is a large gap here, or vice versa, or at the very front, if the deck lid and the quarter panel are not flush with each other, if one is higher or lower on one side or both sides, the line here, what you're looking for is parallel lines. If they're not, that indicates something's out of square. That could mean there's been collision damage. That could mean that the frame is bent, and that translates into the door also. You can look at this door. Now this door, it's not latched or anything. It's just kind of sitting there, but I've lined it up. We've got a pretty decent line. All the lines are pretty decent. That is not bad. You're looking at this body line. You're looking at this line. You're looking at the rocker. You can see it has a really nice parallel line all the way around. Really good indication. Another thing you can look for is the hinges where it bolts on. Now, if you were to take out one of these bolts, you can see exactly how much space you can move it forward or backwards to align this door. Now, if this hinge is all the way forward and there's still a gap or no gap, well, you're out of adjustment, and that can indicate an issue. And on the deck lid, well, same thing. Ideally, you want your bolt to fall in the middle, because if it's not in the middle, now you have very little adjustment. Or if the bolt falls here, and then on the other side, the bolt is here, well, now your deck lid it's not square. That's a major thing to look for. And then part of the assessment, we'll go over this. Okay, everybody focuses on this. They walk up to a vehicle, that's the most obvious, man. I get that, but this is probably the least to worry about. What is well, I'll save the best for last. I'll save the most important for last. Okay, so you want to look for collision damage. You want to get under, look at the frame, look for any buckles, look for any repairs, and then you want to look for alterations. So like say in the 80s, 90s, a big thing with a lot of vehicles was to cut the subframe off of like a 70 to 81 Camaro or Trans Am, because it had disc brakes, updated front suspension, or better than a 1964 Impala. And a lot of times people would graft those on. Now, if somebody's done some major alterations, well, you want to take that into account. You may, if you're doing a really close to stock restoration, or if it's an SS car, or if it's if it's a car worth something and somebody's altered it that way, you may not want to take it on. Okay, then the collision damage. This is probably the biggest thing I look for. Previous work damage. The age of these vehicles, they're getting up there in age now. They've been through a lot. Hopefully they haven't been Dukes of Hazzard or anything like that. But hey, man, they've had bumps and bruises. They've been in collisions. They've been repaired. The question is, if they have had medium or major repair, who did it and how's it been done? How's that work been accomplished? I see a lot of bad repairs, and in addition to the rust, well, if you have a lot of bad work that's been done, man, you're going to take a double hit, and there's going to be a lot of unforeseen things that you didn't take into account. That's going to translate into a lot more time and a lot more money. So that's something you really want to think about. Okay, so another do that you always want to put your best foot forward on a restoration. My formula, when we get a vehicle like this, we completely strip it. What I mean by that, we take out all of the nuts and bolts, we disassemble the car completely. Then we put it on a rotisserie. Then we ship it out to Media Blast. I've had a lot of cars come in. Guys have taken out the glass, take it to a Media Blaster. They've left everything else in the regulator and all of the other hardware installed. Well, now underneath, none of that has been Media Blasted. None of that's been addressed. They've left the weather stripping on. Bad deal. And this is probably the most important tip. Even if you're not media blasting a vehicle, okay, these seams, and the firewall is a great place to show it. They all have seam sealer in there. Now, if you don't remove that, a really high percentage of the time, there's going to be rust underneath that seam sealer or body sealant. That's one thing to look for. It needs to be removed. It can be done with a drill with a wire brush on it, attachment. That's an easy way to do it. Comes out really easily. Another thing that you need to do, this joint on the roof, the cell panel, is a leaded joint. There's lead in here. The lead needs to be heated up. Lead melts really easily. I think the melt point is about 327 degrees, and a little propane bottle with a matte bottle, the yellow one, that will melt it out. Needs to be removed. There's always lead under those. Another area is, now on this is the wheelhouse, and there's still a little bit here. There is, the product used to be called body chutes, or an undercoat, or a sound deadener. It went by a lot of different names. That needs to be removed because you need to media blast behind that, or wire wheel behind that. However you're stripping the finish off, that needs to be done. There's always rust under there. And if you start a restoration, there's a seam sealer in this channel, the drip rail channel. You don't get that out, man, rust is going to come back through after you get done with the restoration. That's not going to be a fun thing. You have to spend a bunch of money. Okay, this is the VIN, the vehicle identification number. This is the serial number. This is what is on your title. Now, if you're sending your vehicle out to be media blasted, I always take, I don't know, 5 or 6 patches of heavy duct tape and tape that up and tell them, hey, don't even get in this area. I'll manually do it, because if this gets destroyed or damaged, yeah, good luck explaining that at the DMV. And now this is an ID tag. This has information about your vehicle. You can see how flimsy and thin it is. Yeah, you want to stay away from that media blasting, or even if you're using a wire wheel to strip the old finish off. Okay, so let's write this down, what we went over. The do's. Okay, we're going to remove the caulking. We're going to remove the lead and undercoat. We want to remove those things because there is a really good chance there will be rust underneath. We need to address that. Okay, so like I mentioned, my formula is we get the car in, completely strip it, put it on a rotisserie, then ship it out to media blast. Now the media blast, that's going to reveal all of the rust. Yeah, there's going to be rust in places where you would say, hey man, that's as solid as anything. Then it's going to come back and look like that. Yeah, it's disheartening, but it's part of it. Now another thing you really want to consider if you're having something media blasted. Okay, now all of the body filler has been removed, but you can see, so this car has sideswiped something in its lifetime, and all of that was, there was filler in there. It was just filled in. If you're media blasting something, you want to tell them, hey, if you run into body filler, and if it's a competent media blaster, well, they're going to already do this, but you can't blast out with the sandblaster body filler, because you will completely destroy the panel. You will have to remove that and tell them just to go around it, reveal it, go around it, take off the rest of the coatings, and then you will have to come back and manually strip that with a proper sanding heavy grit disc, and then get all the body filler out of that. And if you're doing this type of work where you're cutting out the major structure of the vehicle, it's like I mentioned, we put it on a rotisserie, but now all the work is going to be accomplished on a frame fixture with supports. Now I have videos on how to make this, So you can make one for yourself at home. And it'll also double as a body cart. But with this type of repair, a frame fixture is a must. Okay, so we went over a few do's. Now we're going to go over a few don'ts. And like I mentioned, the owner brought the car just like it is. They had already started. They put the inner and outer rockers on both sides and the floor, but then it started going south. Okay, and half of the floor's been cut out. Now to brace it, bracing. Let's go over bracing. Okay, I cut off the attachment points. There was a square or tubing going from that point to here and to here. And from that point, there were two that went across. And the problem with that is they formed something that looked like that. They triangulated it. That's a big no-no. Why is that a no-no? Because now this is a pivot point. And with this floor being cut out like this, now the body is going to twist because that is a pivot point. Don't want that. The way you put a stiffener in, or a whatever you want to call it, a way to keep the body from flexing or moving, is you want to attach square tubing here all the way across, then one from that area across the door as high as you can get it, and then come across here and then attach it. They should all be attached and then attached to the vehicle. When you weld it, keep in mind that you got to remove that. So yeah, you can overweld really easily. And what you should have is just a simple square. That is all the stiffening that you need. So I've seen some people, man, they'll do it here, here, go across. Man, it looks like some NASCAR roll cage, but you got to keep in mind where you're going to be working, how you're going to be working. With it up here and across, now you have access to get in and out, to do whatever type of work you're doing. If you bring your stiffener really low or even up a little bit higher, now you're going to be, now you're limited what you can do and your access. So you want to keep that in mind. So that's a don't. You don't want to triangulate something like that to stiffen the body. Okay, so another don't. Now, this has been cut off and then this piece has been welded in. Well, it's been welded in at an angle, so we know that's not right off the bat. And this whole lower quarter has been cut off. Well, and there's damage. So the proper sequence, or repair sequence, is you remove the damage and address the metal work before you ever cut anything off. Because now this has been cut off, plus there's damage. That's going to be the backwards way of doing it. Putting the cart before the horse. Don't want to do that. And besides that, we don't want to start cutting out little sections like this. We want to address it one thing at a time. Because if you start cutting out all of these things and making irregular cuts like this, you're going to make it really difficult on yourself to repair that. Don't want to do that. Yeah, like if this car had come to me like this, that is a completely different story than for it to come to me like this. I mean, we can handle that. That's not a big deal, but it makes a lot more work. Hey, that's going to translate into more money. And you always want to put the money in the right spot, because these cars, like I mentioned, are investments. Well, this car is going to be beautiful by the time it's over. Yeah, you won't be able to tell anything's been done to this. Hey, and this is for all you guys and gals working at home, doing it yourself, the non-professionals. I just want to give you some tips. And if you watch the videos, tricks, I've got almost 200 videos over these subjects exclusively, as well as motorcycles, welding, but it's all automotive, restoration, resto mod, hot rod related. Hit that like and subscribe. Leave a comment. I'd like to say thank you to all of our followers and supporters. And as always, thank you for watching.